There are 7 areas I would never buy a home in as a licensed mortgage lender. Most people think the areas to avoid are the obvious ones, like the high crime neighborhoods. But if these 7 areas were obvious, people would never regret buying a home. But guess what? It happens all the time. So the reality is you can fix almost everything about the house except where it sits. Because when the wrong thing sits next to your home, your list of future buyers goes down and some banks won't even do the loan. So then when you also go to sell, you're stuck dropping your price $10, $20, or even $50,000 just to get out. And I know this because I'm a mortgage expert who's helped over 500 families, and I've also bought and sold over 15 units, and I've made some of these mistakes myself. So I'm gonna walk you through all 7, and for each one, I'll show you how to spot it and exactly what I do to fix or even walk away. Because just one of these areas can trap you in a home that can't sell for years. So you wanna know all 7 before you even make an offer. Number 1 is infrastructure you can't control. So what do I mean by that? Think of like AI data centers, power lines, and transmission lines. These are things that are pretty much built around the homes that you have zero control over. With more people using, AI every day, that power needs to come from somewhere, right? So check this out. Georgia homeowners are being forced from their homes to help power AI data centers.
Imagine waking up one day and being told the home your family has lived in for years is going to be demolished to help power the AI boom, and there's absolutely nothing you can do about it. They've been given an ultimatum: sell your home or the state will take it.
I'm a single mom. I worked hard for everything.
What's crazy is that some of them have lived there for years and decades even, and now they're being told to sell, right? Like some of them probably have their houses paid off and then they're like, yeah, too bad, right? So that's the part that should scare you, obviously. So the fact that you don't have control of the land or like the plot right next to you. Now I want you to imagine this. When you go to sell the home, maybe you're near an AI data center or power transmission lines, right? A potential buyer pulls up to the house, sees the towers, or hears that a project is coming like really close by, or maybe they watched that video that you guys just watched too. Now they're gonna hesitate or even walk away from the deal. And the crazy thing too is it's not about whether or not it's a health risk to live by an AI data center or power lines. Like that's like a whole different discussion. It's also the perception too, because perception is reality, right? So you might get hit on both fronts. So what if the city decides to take your home or part of it, and then if you had to sell, the buyers perceive it as dangerous? So here's what I hate the most is learning that there's a mistake or even a red flag, but it's missing like, what do I do about it, right? So for each section, I'm actually gonna go over steps that I would take to avoid it or what I would do in this situation. So here's what I would do in this situation. Before you fall in love, look up what's planned to be built nearby. So check the county. You can literally call them up. You can visit them usually. So you want to figure out what are the proposed projects and any like added utilities that are being planned to be added on. Usually it takes 15 minutes, now, and it could save you years and thousands of dollars later. Okay, so this next one is more common. It's probably on a street you drove down today. All right, take a look at this. This is number 2, a home on a double yellow or busy road. So this one on paper feels obvious, but people talk themselves into it all the time. I mean, check this out. This house looks great. What a deal. And the average median price for this place is a lot more. So it's a lot less to buy this place. So sometimes it's $50,000 to $100,000 less, right? Sometimes. But it's because it's on a busy road, or what I call the double V, or the double yellow, which means a lot of traffic and a lot of noise. And I also want you to think about, who does this limit or eliminate from buying the house, right? I want you to think about it. It's 3 types of people. Number 1, it's families with, little kids, right? Having a newborn, myself too. I wouldn't want my son running around in the front yard. That could be very dangerous because cars are driving by all the time. Number 2 is the dog owners, right? Being a dog owner too. I'd be nervous to have Indy, my dog, running in the front yard as well, because she's a rascal. She'll probably get out. And number 3 is anyone who wants a quiet street, wants it cool, calm, and collected. It might be noisy, being a double yellow or a busy road. And here's the kicker too. You can't like renovate your way out of, the location, right? But acquired a road, there's no way to like eliminate that, right? So here's what I would do. So if you're gonna go see a property with your real estate agent, whether it's an open house, try to go view the property during its busy time, not at some weird, 8 p.m. open house or whatever. I'm talking about like regular hours, because I want you to feel what it's like during the rush hours, I should say, right? Because you want to see what it's really like. Is that road super busy? If it is, just know what you're signing up for. Okay, so real quick, if you're stuck wondering if you're ready to buy a house or not, that's why I built the free homebuyer readiness quiz. It takes less than 30 seconds. There's no credit pull. Also, if you're running into should I work on my income? Should I work on my credit? How much should I have saved? What are closing costs? All that type of questions. I have videos, like 3-minute videos or 4-minute videos to solve that constraint. Then you move on to the next constraint because the person who's the most prepared gets the best deals. So it's my free gift to you. Check it out in the link down below. Also, if you want more of a custom one-on-one plan, you can actually schedule a meeting with me, and that's where I can sit down with you, go over your goals, figure out, hey, these are 3 things that I would work on. So if you want something more tailored like that, and if it makes sense, maybe we can be your mortgage advisor. So check it out in the link down below. So number 3 is going to be your bad neighbors. Now, I'm not talking about just the people, okay? Yes, having bad neighbors is bad, right? We don't want that. But what I'm talking about is what's next to your home, or what's the neighboring thing. A liquor store or a bar nearby, some buyers won't care. I know when I was younger, during college, I would be like, this is the best spot ever. But now in my 30s, or anyone who's watching this who's older, they're like, no way, Jose, I'm going to bed early. Next is gas station. Now you've got this traffic, lights, and I'm sure gets super noisy with the gas station. And then you're probably wondering, where's that tank, oil and all that gas and stuff like that going, right? Train tracks would be another one. The noise, even if it doesn't run daily, again, the perception of it will throw off some home buyers, right? Which would limit the pools of people who want to buy the house. So that could be a problem. Like, I rented a spot that was right under a flight path. At some point, you stop hearing the planes, but I remember when I was touring it, I could for sure hear it. But when you're renting, sometimes you don't have a choice. Plus, for renting, it's sometimes only like a year or 2. But when you buy, you're committing. And lastly is, of course, legit having a nightmare neighbor. So here's what I would do. I like to pull up the maps when you're looking at the property and look at 2 or 3 blocks in every location: north, west, south, east, right? Also, if you're seeing the property, walk around the neighborhood for like 10 or 15 minutes in either direction, and you get to see what the noise levels are. If it's fine, great. Preferably, hopefully you're doing it during rush hour, busy times. And lastly, this is super spicy, super top secret, is what to do with nightmare neighbors, right? You can never predict the future, but this will help limit the risk, I would say, of having a bad neighbor. Is when you're touring the property, if you get the offer accepted during your due diligence phase, I want you to knock around the neighbors' houses, introduce yourself. Say, hey, I'm Nathan. I'm thinking about, buying 123 Main Street. Are you crazy? No, I'm just kidding. You wouldn't say that, right? Or is, Bob Smith down the road, is he crazy or she crazy? No, you'd basically introduce yourself, and then you would want to get a vibe check. Are they having a natural conversation with you? They open the door. I'm sure you get a sneak peek of what's going on in there and stuff like that. If they're regular people, great. If you can, sense that there's some weird stuff going on, then at least before you're buying a house. Number 4 is the empty lot next door, or the open field behind the fence. So this is a trap that gets people who did almost everything right. So the house is perfect, it's on a quiet street, and a beautiful view of, the open land. And that's the problem. You bought your lot, but you didn't buy the land next door. So you do get to, look at the open field and the open lot, but whatever goes up on it is out of your hands, right? So it could be more houses. It could be, townhomes. That's actually really popular in a place that we're investing in quite heavily in Dallas, right? They're buying lots and, building four townhomes right next to you. It could be a warehouse. It could be one of those data centers we mentioned that we just talked about, right? So let me actually tell you about Dallas, Texas specifically. We bought a rental property in a townhome, and we're going to Airbnb it, and it's doing quite well. However, the downside was during one of the year, I think it was 23 or 24 or something like that, where there was all of these builders that bought this plot of land, literally right across the street. And so what they did was they built an apartment complex, and guess what? That construction went on longer than most people expected. I remember we were chatting with the general contractor for there. He's like, yeah, it should be, X amount of months. And guess what? It was double that. So the tenants were definitely annoyed. And we felt bad too, because we're like, hey, they said it's going to be this amount of time. We're just passing it on. And of course, with any construction, it always gets delayed. And it's always louder than you expected. And then the view that they had is completely gone, right? So here's what I would do. I would never assume the land that is empty, the open land, will always be open, okay? So don't assume that. Try to look up the zoning on the lot before you actually buy it. So again, you can call the county and ask if anything's been proposed to be built there, and then also what's the zoning, right? Because that kind of limits what can be built, and that can limit your exposure from there. Okay, so this next one is the big one. If you only remember one, make it this, especially if you're in California or Florida. Number 5 is wildfire and insurance not renewing. So I would burn this, into your brain. Homes in wildfire zones and any area where getting insurance is tough or costly, like here in California, this is happening right now. Insurance companies are pulling out of California because of the high risk fire areas, right? They're not renewing people who've paid on time for years, right? So this reminds me of one of my clients who actually, ironically, lives in Florida, bought in California, right? So he bought like around $1 million property. He was basically doing a 1031 exchange for that property in California. So basically selling a property and then buying another investment property while being able to defer the capital gains and keep the taxes deferred, right? So when he went to go to an insurance quote in California that was not in a wildfire area, which was great news, it was like $200 a month, right? And he was like, man, my house in Florida, I'm paying like $6,000 a year, so it's pretty much double that amount. But his Florida house is half the price, right? Which is crazy. And he was like, these hurricanes are causing all these problems, et cetera, right? So that's in Florida. And then on the flip side, we've had some clients who, again, maybe it's in California or other areas, but in wildfire areas, because they want the space, they want the, quietness. And in Southern California, it's gonna be dry, okay? So just being honest. So you're gonna be buying in a fire zone pretty much. So in that situation, sometimes that insurance could be $6,000 to $10,000 a year just to get the fire insurance. And that's not even including, the regular mortgage and property taxes, right? So what's the point of this, right? Is if most insurance companies will not cover the home, then the insurance will be more expensive for pretty much everybody. And it may make it harder to lend on, meaning most lenders will want you to have insurance coverage, but if it's hard to get insurance, therefore it's gonna get hard to get a loan. So here's what I would do, is I would check the fire risk score. Usually you can find it on Zillow or Redfin. I've noticed Redfin is like pretty easy. You go to the map section, then you click on fire. Zillow, you gotta go all the way down, click on this, you go to a different website, and then it tells you the score. So you kind of use different tools for different purposes, right? So the next best thing is you can reach out to your insurance agent and just say, hey, again, maybe you have insurance, a renter's policy with an insurance company. You can ask them, hey, I would like to get a quote for kind of just general area. What have you seen is the average price for insurance, right? And they can usually give you an estimate based on the area, especially if it's a high risk zone, if it's in a flood zone, etc. Okay, real quick, if you're stuck wondering if you're ready to buy a home or not, that's actually why I built a free homebuyer readiness quiz. It takes less than 30 seconds. There's no credit pull. And the best thing is, if you run into a constraint in kind of like the home buying process, I send you a video to resolve that, and that way you can move on to the next step. So it's my free gift to you, and you get a bonus homeownership free trial guide, which shows you how to test drive your budget before you actually buy a house. Also, if you wanted more of like a custom one-on-one plan, that's why there's a guidance call link right below that. So if you wanted me to, customize a plan for you from a mortgage perspective, if that makes sense, great. I would love to be your mortgage advisor. So check out the link down below. Number 6 is environmental hazards. Okay, so this home is sitting in a hazard zone, right? So think flood, fault lines, like earthquake fault lines, landslides, sinkholes as well, okay? So we live on Earth, right? We can't blame it, but Earth doesn't care, right? So flood zones. So when it comes to flood zones, again, it's not just the coast. There's plenty of homes in more inland territories that still flood, right? Like in the past 2 years, I feel like I've seen major floods on the news quite often. So those areas are gonna require flood insurance, which again is another bill added on top of everything else. Your principal, interest, property taxes, insurance, flood insurance. If you have mortgage insurance or HOA, it adds up. And then you have fault lines and let's call it steep slopes, right? That could cause landslides. So this can be, again, in earthquake territories and landslide territories, like I mentioned. And then sinkhole prone areas, right? Yes, these are real things too. So those are things you wanna look up before you actually buy. So here's what I would do. If you're looking in a flood zone, there is a FEMA map, basically a map that shows you where the flood zones are. And then your lender will generally look at this map for you. Or if you have an insurance agent, they should be doing that too. For fault lines and steep slopes, especially in California, there's a tool that you can use and it's called EQ ZAP, I think. So it's EQ ZAPP. I'll put it on the video here. And then you'll be able to see the fault lines and stuff like that. Little pro tip, California has this like earthquake brace and bolt program where you get a grant money to retrofit your house to make it more earthquake proof, if you want to call it that. Usually it's for like wood frame houses or older houses. So look into that and you might be able to get a grant for that type of stuff. For sinkholes, there's no help here. Just kidding. You can use this website called Karst Map, so Karst, or that's how I pronounce it. If you're buying in a hotspot on the map, make sure you get you ask your agent, hey, what do I do about this? They should be telling you about a geotechnical engineer, and then you usually get that during your due diligence stage. And I usually see it like kind of that sinkhole area, kind of in Florida, Texas area. Again, it happens in other places, but those are usually like the big spots there. Okay, number 7 is contamination. So we want to look at what's in the ground or just contamination in general. So this could be like an invisible 6-figure surprise. So let's talk about underground oil tanks. So this is usually more common, I would say, northeast part of the US. This is something that I would definitely avoid. Think about like the older homes, like I said, especially back east. Sometimes they had like an old oil tank buried in the yard, even like decommissioned ones you can't use anymore. If it ever leaked, the soil that gets contaminated, that cleanup is not like a few $100, right? And not a few thousand. It's like close to 6 figures or more. So pay attention to that. And there's radon too, where this is a gas, so it kind of seeps from underground. It's the second leading cause for lung cancer after smoking. So that sounds bad. Here's the good news is a test kit is usually very cheap. It's like, I think $100 or so, a few $100. So very easy to do. And again, I would recommend doing that during your inspection. I would also avoid buying near old landfills or industrial sites, just kind of in general, because you never know what they were doing. So here's what I would do. On any older or rural property, I would do a soil test. You can do that during the inspection or due diligence stage. So doing these tests, I would say, is cheap compared to the grand scheme of things if you don't catch it ahead of time, right? So the good news is you're gonna find out all that information before you own the house. So then you can use that as leverage if you wanna lower price or get the seller to cover some of your closing costs, so that way you can use that saved money to do the repairs yourself. Okay, so we listed quite a bit of areas that we should avoid, right? But when is it still okay to buy the house, even though we're aware of the red flags? So here's my honest answer. If the house is a true, 10 out of 10, checks all the boxes, I would at least still want to know about this type of stuff, right? That way you can be at peace that you've made the decision, right now, and you know what you're signing up for, right? So if you need to sell it, it may take a little longer. It'll limit your buyer pool. But if you're okay with that, that's totally cool. Because if you're going to never sell, great, no worries. Then you don't have to worry about selling, right? So if you're out there looking for a home and you're kind of like on the fence and you have one of these red flags and you can't resolve it, I would just skip it and move on to the next one, because there'll still be another house out there. All right, as always, I try to make the best videos in the mortgage education space. So if you liked it, comment, like, subscribe, and what you want to watch next. And we're trying to hit 10,000 subscribers by the end of the year. So make sure to join the family. And as always, keep learning, and I'll catch you in the next one.